Welcome into the Commanders Report live show. I'm your host, Jack Sperry. Thank you guys so much for joining me here today. It is NFL Combine Week in Indianapolis. Right now, the defensive linemen are currently working out at Lucas Oil Stadium. But today, we've got some great Commanders content coming your way here over the next hour or so. First up on today's show, I'm going to be breaking down whether or not the Washington Commanders should consider drafting Notre Dame running back Jeremiyah Love in round one. That has certainly been the talk in Commanders Nation during Combine Week. Should Jeremiyah Love be this team's first-round selection? I'm going to be sharing what Dan Quinn had to say about that idea yesterday in Indianapolis, as well as my thoughts on potentially drafting the Heisman finalist running back. Then we'll get into my latest 7-round Commanders mock draft. It's my 7th of this draft season. We got some cool players to draft here for the Burgundy and Gold to talk about today. And then we'll get into the live mailbag. Your questions. This is your opportunity in the week, guys, to get your questions answered on the Burgundy and Gold. So if you have a question on free agency, which is right around the corner, if you got a question about any of these prospects at the NFL Combine, if you have a question about draft strategy in the first round or in the second round or in the third round or anything like that, make sure you guys get your questions in down there in the live chat room. You guys can use hashtag Steelers in the live chat, or hashtag Commanders, my mistake, to get into the live chat room to get your question on the show today. Or you guys can super chat to get on the Q&A guaranteed. The only way to guarantee your question gets on the mailbag is if you super chat, but the real ones know what to do. If you got a question on the Washington Commanders today, make sure you guys use hashtag Commanders to get your question on the show for free today. And with that, let's bring in our producer. Mr. Ponzi is here. Ponzi, a couple of your boys are working out right now out of Texas Tech, Lee Hunter and, of course, David Bailey in Indianapolis. But let's talk a little bit here about the Washington Commanders. And, Hunter and Bailey are two guys that could go in round one. Bailey could be the pick for the Commanders at number 7. What is your thoughts? And who I'm guessing I probably know who you want to pick in round one.
But I know I'm going with the guy who maybe just ran a 4.51 unofficially at his size. I really think David Bailey is more of that speed rusher off the edge. I don't know if he's really going to be fitting into a true 4-3 type of being setting the edge. He's not really a good run stuffer. But in terms of what they are expected to do running this this front, I think David Bailey would be a perfect fit for this Commanders defense. I think, there's a couple other guys out there. I like Ruben Bain. I don't know if I like him at 7. I do think that, that arm length is going to be talked about a lot. And then, of course, a lot of, news coming in with Jeremiyah Love. That's going to be interesting. I would rather get a defensive guy. My top 2 are Caleb Downs or David Bailey.
Yeah, the way I kind of view our first-round pick this year is it's really by far the most valuable draft asset that you have this year. The only other top 100 pick that you have is in round 3 at pick 71, and you've got all these things that you have to overhaul this offseason, right? You've got to get pieces to all levels of every single bit of this football team. You got to get younger, you got to get faster. So I think if you can trade down, I think that's probably what I would do, because you can still get a really good player in round 1, but add a couple more picks, maybe in the top 100, and really the only way you can really do that this year is if you trade down from that number 7 selection. Now, I would say that this is a draft, with not a lot of quarterbacks and all these different things, where it might be a tougher year to trade down, and the Commanders might not even get an opportunity to trade down from number 7. But if they do get that opportunity, I think that's probably what they should do, unless there's somebody that gets to them, like a David Bailey or a Caleb Downs, or one of these guys that's just like they're just can't miss type of prospects. You got to draft them. I feel like the best strategy is probably to trade down in round 1 and try to get some more picks in round 2 and round 3.
100%. I think, the only way that it really kind of becomes is if a team like a Broncos or like a Texans wants to trade up to get Jeremiyah Love. Like a team that's pretty solid, solid throughout, but they want to get Jeremiyah Love at 7. And they want to jump the Saints and the Chiefs, who are picking right behind them. So I think, that probably is the case, but I don't know how many teams would be willing to give up that much draft assets to go up and get a running back, especially in today's NFL. I think Jeremiyah Love's great, but I don't know if that's going to be completely reasonable.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, man. So we'll just have to see what happens. We'll talk a little bit about the discussion on Jeremiyah Love in our first segment today. But I want to see who the real ones are. Down there in the chat, we've already got over 100 Commanders fans in this chat room right now. So identify yourselves. Type me in the chat if you've already liked the stream. Guys, the more of you that like the stream, the more YouTube is going to recommend this show to other Commanders fans out there on YouTube. So I greatly appreciate it if you click that thumbs up icon to kick off our live show today. I want to give a big shout out to, of course, my lovely fiance, Cassie Voth, who's here as always. We got Caesar Holmes. We've got Richard Barker. We got Kenny Lewis in the chat. We've got Samuel Buckdew. I hope I'm saying that right. He got his question in already. We've got Mission Cape. We've got Kenny Lewis. We've got Uptown Dre. We've got JG's in the chat. What's up, JG? We've got, of course, Cassie, Caesar Holmes, Samuel's in the chat. Make sure you guys click that thumbs up icon if you haven't already. Now we're going to get into our first segment of the day here, guys, where we're going to be talking about Jeremiyah Love, the top running back in this class out of Notre Dame. A lot of people expecting him to go for sure in the top 15 of this year's NFL draft. Could he go top 10 to Washington? Certainly seems like Dan Quinn thinks he's dynamic. It's definitely got people talking here. But then we'll also get into our next 7-round Commanders mock draft, and then we'll get into the live mailbag at the end of the show. So again, make sure you get your questions in. If you got a question about free agency, the draft, trades, the coaching staff, the schemes that they're bringing in this year, I'm happy to answer any and all questions surrounding this football team today, guys. All you have to do is get your question in using hashtag Commanders down there in the live chat. All right, without further ado, let's get into our first segment of the day. Should the Commanders draft Jeremiyah Love? Let's talk about it. Welcome into the Commanders Report. I'm your host, Jack Sperry, and today, our topic of today's show is going to be running back out of Notre Dame, Jeremiyah Love, who is getting quite a bit of love, pun intended there, from Washington Commanders fans out there on Twitter and all these different places and in the media. And, you know, there's a growing sentiment nationally and within this fan base that the Washington Commanders should seriously consider drafting the Heisman finalist with their first overall selection this year in round 1 at number 7 overall. Today, what we're going to be breaking down is what I love about Jeremiyah Love. We'll talk about what Dan Quinn had to say about Love, which is really turning heads this week during the Combine week in Indianapolis. And then I'll share whether or not I think the Commanders should spend their first-round selection on Jeremiyah Love this year. Now, I want to give you guys a little bit of an update to the merch battle update here that we have for you guys when it comes to our new T-shirts, our Washington Drinking Team T-shirts, which is currently available on our website right now. All you have to do is go to chatsports.com/DCGreen. That link is down there in the comments and description of today's show if you guys want to make a purchase. And right now, me and my good friend Marshall Green are doing a little bit of a merch battle here where we agreed where the host that sells the least amount of shirts this week owes the other one a steak dinner. Right now, we are just 2 shirts behind the New York Giants team here. So help us out here. Go to chatsports.com/DCGreen if you like the design of this t-shirt. It also comes in black, by the way, if you prefer that colorway. This t-shirt's only going to be around until St. Patrick's Day here, guys, so time is running out. Help us win the merch battle this week by going to chatsports.com/DCGreen and join the Washington Drinking Team today. All right, so now let's see what head coach Dan Quinn had to tell Rich Eisen just yesterday on Jeremiyah Love, right? Eisen specifically asked Dan Quinn about drafting Love at number 7. This was DQ's response. I think our league has changed a little bit over the last few years in the way that where you see guys who can absolutely make impactful plays to do things. That's really what you're looking for. How does somebody impact the team in a great way? Sometimes that's through running back. So it certainly seems like Dan Quinn would at least be open to the idea of drafting Jeremiyah Love with his first round selection this year. And, you know, Jeremiyah Love is somebody that, you know, is really well thought of in the NFL draft community. Some people even think that he's a better running running back prospect than Ashton Jeanty, who went extremely high last year in the NFL draft to the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, Love is going to be 21 years old next season. He's got some really great size to him. 214 pounds is somebody that's not only a great running back and a great runner, but he's also fantastic as a receiver out of the backfield. Of course, he was a Heisman Trophy finalist last year, and he currently ranks 9th on the consensus big board for this year's NFL draft class. So he's very well thought of, and a lot of people in Commanders Nation want the Commanders to take this guy at number 7 this year. And, I think Love is a truly dynamic running back prospect. That's the way that I would describe Love's game. Now, I personally don't have a higher grade on him than, say, Ashton Jeanty last year, but I do think he's one of those blue chip type of running back prospects, whatever you feel about positional value or anything like that. Just from a pure talent perspective and ability standpoint, Jeremiyah Love is one of the best players in the National Football League draft this year. And honestly, guys, if I had a Heisman vote, I would have given it to Jeremiyah Love, not for Fernando Mendoza last year. I think Love just had a terrific season, and I think that his ability to not only tout the rock as a rusher, but also catch passes out of the backfield, the kind of big play threat that he poses every time he touches the football, and not only that, but the statistics and the production that he had for the Fighting Irish last year, I thought warranted a Heisman Trophy win for him. Obviously, it ended up going to the quarterback, Mendoza, but I think Jeremiyah Love was the premier talent in college football last year, at least in my opinion, and I understand why a lot of people want to add that type of talent to the Commanders' offense, because people just imagine Jayden Daniels and Jeremiyah Love in the same offense, and they're like, man, that could be super dangerous. Not only do you have a quarterback that can run and pass the football and is one of the more dynamic talents in the league, but then you got one of the most dynamic talents at running back as well that can not only run the football but can catch passes from Daniels out of the backfield, and that could be a really dangerous duo for the next several years. But with all that said, I do not think that the Washington Commanders should take Love with their number 7 overall pick this year. I think that there's a lot of reasons for that we'll talk about in the second half of today's show. But personally, I am not in the camp that says Washington should use their number 7 overall draft selection to take Jeremiyah Love this year. Now, before I get into my reasons why here, predict it for me down there in the comment section. What team will Jeremiyah Love get drafted to this year? Where do you think Love is going to go? Do you think he ends up in Washington? Do you think he goes to a different team? Let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section for today's pinned question. In just a second here, I'm going to tell you about our sponsor today at Harry's. Well, I tell you about Harry's today. Let me know, where do you think Jeremiyah Love ends up in the NFL draft this year? And with that, let's have word from our sponsor today at Harry's. And guys, life is all about continual improvement, and that includes the products that we use every single day. Your phone is practically a supercomputer in your pocket. Cars can park and even drive themselves now. Your headphones can cancel outside noise like magic, but your razor, it's likely still flimsy, overpriced, and stuck back in 2008. That's where our friends at Harry's Plus come in. Harry's Plus has an advanced pivoting system to reach every corner of your face, refined blade tech for a closer, smoother shave, and a weighted metal handle, which is Harry's heaviest handle ever for added control and comfort. It feels like an expensive shave without having to break the bank. With Harry's Plus, each blade is honed at 3 different angles to cut hair cleanly at the root without tugging. Blade spacing is optimized to glide smoothly and avoid clogging. Every cartridge includes a lubricating strip with aloe and vitamin E to calm skin while you shave. But maybe the best part about Harry's Plus is how affordable it is. Harry's owns their own world-class blade factory in Germany, which means no outsourcing and no middlemen. And because they control the entire process from steel to shelf, they keep costs low and pass the savings on to you. And if you don't love your shave, Harry's is going to make it right with you, no questions asked. Their risk-free trial means there's zero downside to giving them a shot. For a limited time only, our listeners can get the Harry's Plus trial set for only $10 at harrys.com/chat. This set includes the all-new Harry's Plus razor, one refined 5-blade cartridge, 2-ounce foaming shave gel, and a travel cover to protect your blades on the go. Just head on over to harrys.com/chat to claim this offer, and after you purchase, they'll ask where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them that we sent you. And a big thank you to Harry's for sponsoring today's edition of the Commanders Report. So now going over my reasons why, if I were Adam Peters and I were Dan Quinn, I would not take Jeremiyah Love with my first-round selection this year at number 7. My first reason is running backs generally have a very short shelf life, and these guys usually tend to expire athletically quicker, not only because, this is a position that obviously relies a lot on athleticism, but also these guys take a beating, okay? They really do, and because of that, they take injuries, and those injuries can decrease their athleticism, and if that athleticism wanes, and it usually tends to do at the end of their 20s, heading into their 30s, it's just not as long of a shelf life as some other positions in this league. And if I'm going to be taking a player in the top 10, okay, like this is a can't-miss type of pick, I want that player to realistically play for my football team for a decade plus. I want that to be a realistic possibility, but drafting a 21-year-old running back who might have, like, if we're lucky, like 7-8 good years, and then he starts waning off a little bit, I'm not sure if you're maximizing the value that you could get out of this draft selection at number 7 overall. But then also running backs are not on the field full time either. If you're going to be drafting, a player with this really premium draft asset of a top 10 pick, guys, I want that player to be an every down impact. I want them to be on the field every single snap. If it's an offensive player, I want them out there all the time. If it's a defensive player, I want them to be a 3-down starter on defense as well. I'm not really interested in drafting rotational pieces for either side with a top 10 draft selection. Okay, like running backs, some guys are bell cows in this league, sure, but even the best backs in the league, they're not on the field all the time. Even the best backs need a break from time to time on third downs. And with Jeremiyah Love, even if he turns out to be like a superstar running back, he's not going to be out there for every single offensive play, which kind of lets me know that a top 10 draft selection, you might be leaving some meat on the bone there in terms of the overall value that you could be getting out of this pick. But also, running backs are pretty easily found around the National Football League, guys. Like, I don't want to say that they're a dime a dozen, but you can get pretty good running back talent in most NFL drafts, like on day 2 and even into day 3. I mean, we got Bill Croskey-Merrit with a 7th round draft selection last year, guys. And even though this year's draft class in particular is not a great running back class, in most seasons you're going to be able to find somebody that can be a legitimate starting piece for your offense in the middle rounds. And, I don't know if I want to spend my top 10 draft selection on a player that, is dynamic and is awesome at the position, but, I want to take a player at a position where it's hard to find a high-end starter at that given position. And the way that I kind of see it and the way that I kind of view this decision, guys, and who we should take with that top 10 draft selection, and if we don't trade down, hopefully, this will be the last time for a while that we're drafting in the top 10. I mean, if everything goes according to plan with Jayden Daniels and all these guys that, we have on the team, hopefully we don't have another top 10 pick for, a decade plus at this point. Hopefully we're competing for Super Bowls very consistently, and this might be the last time we have an opportunity to take a top-end edge rusher or a top-end cornerback or, one of these type of positions where it's really, really difficult to get high-end talent at. So for me, I would probably rather go with a more premium position than running back if I'm going to stick and pick at number 7. But then also, it is a strong running back free agency class this year. So it's not a great running back draft class this year, which might lend credence to the idea that the Commanders should spend their first-round draft pick on a running back this year. But you could splurge a little bit in free agency, and this is a position that doesn't get super highly paid according to APY. So you guys can take a look here at the top 5 free agents at the running back position this year according to The Athletic and what they're projecting their contracts to look like. And, you could go for a big fish like Breece Hall or Kenneth Walker III, who just won Super Bowl MVP, by the way. Or you could go with a guy like Travis Etienne. Rico Dowdle's a really good player. Rashad White played with Brandon Ayuk and Jayden Daniels in college at Arizona State. He could be a very realistic possibility for the Washington Commanders. And this is just the top end of the market. There's still guys like Kenneth Gainwell and others that were really, really good running backs for their respective teams that are hitting the market this year. So there's always good running back talent that you can add, and I just think that this offense is always going going to center around the quarterback, Jayden Daniels. So why waste, or maybe not waste, but use your top 10 draft selection on somebody that's not going to be super heavily featured at the running back position. Then we get to the final reason why I would not draft Jeremiyah Love at number 7, which is a lack of draft picks this year. Like, just plain and simply, guys, we know this as Commanders fans. We just don't have a whole lot of, high-end draft capital this year, and we are a team that needs to get younger and faster at a lot of different positions, okay? We don't just have to get better at running back. We have to get better in the secondary and along the defensive line and at wide receiver and a tight end and all these different positions, yet you only have 2 picks in the top 100. And, using one of these picks on a low-value position that's not going to be on the field on every single play, all the reasons that I just laid out, it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Now, if your team was really good and most of your, big positions of need were filled and all that different stuff, and, you could afford to take a running back at number 7, sure, why not? But this team just has too many needs at key positions to just go and take a running back at number 7, because if you take a running back there, guys, you're going to be vacating an opportunity to add a premium player at maybe a more premium position like edge rusher or corner or safety or, one of these positions where, this team desperately needs to get better, specifically on the defensive side of the ball. Now, listen, man, like if the Commanders trade back and they get into the teens and Jeremiyah Love falls to them and they add a couple picks in the middle rounds there, like, sure, by all means, take Jeremiyah Love if you absolutely love him. If he's the top player on your board at that point, sure, why not? Take Jeremiyah Love. As I discussed earlier, he is a dynamic talent, easily the best running back prospect in this class, and if you want to combine his talents with Jayden Daniels, I understand why you would do that. But, like, if you're going to stick and pick at number 7 and you're not going to add picks to your arsenal, I think there's way too many needs that this team needs to address to go out and get a running back with their first selection of this year's NFL draft. But you guys make the call for me down there in the comments section. Should the Commanders take Jeremiyah Love in round 1 this year? Give me a yes or a no down there in the comments section. Let me know what you guys think down there in the comments. All right, that'll be it for today's edition of the Commanders Report by Chat Sports. Thank you guys for making it to the end of today's video. We're going to continue to get you guys great Commanders offseason content every single day for free on this channel. So if you guys want that daily coverage, make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already. All right, first segment in the books. Coming up next, it's our next 7-round Commanders mock draft. It's our 7th of the year already, and we are only at the Combine, man, so it's only going to get better from here on out here, guys, and we got some really fun prospects to talk about in our mock draft coming up here. But, of course, we have the live mailbag that's coming up after the mock draft, so if you have a question about Jeremiyah Love or my reasoning why I wouldn't take him in round 1, if you got any trade ideas to trade down in round 1, if you've got, questions about the roster, about free agency, about the draft, any of these prospects that are working out in Indianapolis right now, like, feel free to ask questions, guys. That's why we have these live shows, to give you guys an opportunity to ask these questions. So if something's on your mind, I can give you my best answer to whatever Commanders topic that you want me to talk about. So I greatly appreciate your guys' support. All right, I'm going to take a drink here. All right, Ponzi, let's get into our next segment here, which is, of course, our next 7-round mock draft for your Washington Commanders. Let's get into it right now. Welcome into the Commanders Report. I'm your host, Jack Sperry, and today we have yet another 7-round Commanders mock draft for you guys to enjoy. It's our 7th of the draft season already, and we got some great players to discuss on today's show. Now, before we get into the mock draft here, guys, today is this video is going to be going out on the final day of February, and currently we are doing a sub-battle with our sister channels here in the NFC East here at Chat Sports. Eagles Now, Giants Now, and the Cowboys Report, and right right now it is neck and neck in terms of the new subscribers gained for all 4 channels. Right now we are sitting at 919 new subscribers, but right now Giants Now is in the lead this month with 925 new subscribers added. I want to pass them right now, guys, and you better believe Eagles Now and then the Cowboys Report want to take the lead as well here, guys. So if you love the Washington Commanders and you love the NFL Draft, make sure you guys click that subscribe button today, because we're going to be providing in-depth prospect analysis on every single position of need for the Washington Commanders, positional rankings before the NFL Draft, pre-draft visit trackers, not only for this week at the Combine, but also for the top 30 visits as well. And of course, just like we're doing today, we have weekly 7-round mock drafts for the Washington Commanders, where we talk about new players every single week. All that content is 100% free during draft season here, guys, for you guys to enjoy. So if you want to help us beat the Giants, the Cowboys, and the Eagles today, and you want extensive Commanders draft content this year, make sure you guys click that subscribe button right now. All right, so the first thing that I want to tell you guys on today's mock draft is that this week we're not going to be making any trades, okay? And honestly, man, if I'm going to tell you guys the truth right now, it's going to be tough for Adam Peters to find a trade down partner on night 1 of the NFL Draft in Pittsburgh this year, in my opinion. This is a draft, obviously, that doesn't have a ton of high-end quarterback talent in it, and, you know, I would say there's not a ton of, like, blue-chip talent in general. So unless there's a team that's in the teens or maybe the low 20s that is really, really keen on moving up for one of these guys and is willing to, pay a pretty hefty price tag to the Washington Commanders, I just don't know if Adam Peters is going to be able to find a trade partner, and they might have to be forced to stick and pick at number 7 overall. And if that's the case, I think the guy that they would like to add is David Bailey, the edge rusher out of Texas Tech, okay? Right now, I think if the Commanders played a game right now with the current roster construction, Frankie Louvu would be playing that Andrew Van Ginkel, outside linebacker type of role. I don't think that's where they want to play Louvu. I think they want to play him off ball again next year, and they've been saying for months at this point they want to add another edge rusher to this group alongside Dorrance Armstrong. And Dan Quinn this week at the Combine said that he's looking for somebody with a lot of first step explosiveness. This was Coach Q on what he's looking for.
Yeah, it matters a lot because that ability to affect the QB, it's one of the biggest tenets in winning the game, for obviously scoring and that, but the ability to hit and pressure the quarterback, it also forces takeaways. Those are like things. So you want to see somebody that has demonstrated speed and initial quickness to beat somebody on the field. And I think that can be one thing as we get into this week and you hear timings and that, hey man, let's go back to that demonstrated speed on the field and playmaking ability. And so that at the top is what I see. But beating somebody to the punch, having an explosive, get off to make someone feel like overwhelmed, that's what all of the great rushers have.
And if Dan Quinn is looking for that first step explosiveness, I don't think there's anybody in this class that provides more of that than David Bailey. Now, I would say the con on Bailey's game is that he's not, the biggest guy in the world. He's not the best edge setter in the world or anything like that. And he's not the best run defender. But for the Andrew Van Ginkel role in Durante Jones's defense, if he's going to be adapting that Brian Flores scheme here in Washington, then David Bailey as an undersized kind of outside linebacker type, I think is a perfect fit to play that role here with the Washington Commanders, and he would be immediately their number 1 pass rusher in this defense. Obviously, he can win one-on-one. He's got that incredible first step, that bend around the edge, and he's just super competitive as well. So I just think that if David Bailey gets there to number 7, that's probably going to be the selection for the Washington Commanders, and maybe if he gets taken by like the Jets or somebody else, maybe they think about Ruben Bain, maybe they think about Caleb Downs, maybe they think about Jeremiyah Love or somebody else. But I think right now, if the Washington Commanders could pick one person that could realistically be there at number 7 to be their draft selection, I think their favorite is David Bailey. But let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section. Who is Washington's ideal pick at number 7 overall this year? Is it David Bailey? Is it Caleb Downs? Is it somebody else? Let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section. This will be the pinned comment on today's show. So in just a second here, I'm going to tell you about our brand new sponsor here at Rag & Bone. Well, I'll tell you about our sponsor today. Answer today's pinned question down there in the comments. You guys might have noticed that I'm wearing a brand new shirt today. This denim shirt comes from our friends at Rag & Bone, our new sponsor here on the Commander's Report. And Rag & Bone Infused Denim offers a range of fits tailored for any style and occasion. From slim and straight to athletic and relaxed, Infused Denim is a wardrobe staple that pairs perfectly with any outfit and whatever fit you prefer. For a limited time only, our listeners get 20% off their entire order with code CHAT at rag-bone.com. I was completely blown away the first time I tried on my Rag & Bone shirt and jeans because of how broken in they already felt right away and how high quality the materials were and how fantastic they felt. I used to have to choose between jeans that look great and ones that actually lasted, but with Rag & Bone, I finally get the best of both worlds. Rag & Bone Infused Denim is crafted with a proprietary 8-step over-dye process, and that gives each piece a rich dimensional color that gets better with every wash. And not only do they look great, but Rag & Bone makes jeans that are built to last that actually get more comfortable the more that you wear them. It's time to upgrade your denim game with Rag & Bone today. For a limited time only, our listeners get 20% off their entire order with code CHAT at rag-bone.com. That's 20% off at rag-bone.com with promo code CHAT. When they ask where you heard about them, please support our show and tell them that we sent you. And a big thank you to Rag & Bone for sponsoring today's edition of the Commander's Report. Now, with our third round selection here, I'm going to take one of my most intriguing players in this NFL draft class this year, in my opinion, which is the undersized linebacker out of Pitt, Kyle Lewis. Now, Lewis was a team captain for the Pitt Panthers, and he was somebody that at the Senior Bowl was an absolute star because he had multiple interceptions as a linebacker going up against the running backs in the one-on-ones. And if you know anything about that one-on-one drill with linebackers versus running backs, you almost never see interceptions, and you very rarely see PBUs. Running backs usually just cook these linebackers. Not Kyle Lewis, man. Like, this guy was absolutely shutting down some of the best route-running running backs in the nation in Mobile this year. And, when I look at his size, like, he's like 220 pounds, a little bit over that, a little bit over 6 foot. Like, he kind of is built like a big nickel type of player. And I think Lewis is a uniquely good cover player at that size, at 225, whatever pounds that he's at. And, he can cover running backs. He can cover, slot wide receivers. He can be that roamer at nickel in certain packages as well. Like, this guy's got a very unique skill set. He's very, very athletic. He's expected to run somewhere between 4.5 and like 4.55. Like, he's going to run pretty fast at the combine this week. And Lewis, can kind of play that tweener role, that linebacker kind of DB kind of tweener role that we saw Josh Metellus play in Brian Flores' defense over the last several years. He has been such a big part of that Vikings defense. Just ask a Vikings fan what they think of Josh Metellus. They absolutely love that guy as kind of like that tweener linebacker safety type. And I think that Kyle Lewis at 225 pounds can provide something very similar to what Metellus brought to the Vikings defense, only Lewis is 20 pounds heavier than what Metellus brings to the table there for the Minnesota Vikings. So something tells me that Durante Jones, who likes these kind of tweener type of players, is going to fall in love with Kyle Lewis, especially if he watches that practice tape from the Senior Bowl. And I think that he could be kind of that dynamic, almost big nickel piece in this Washington Commanders defense that can make this defense one of the more unique looking defenses in the National Football League, with that big nickel player converting from linebacker to almost like a big nickel safety type of role here in Washington. But then we get to round 5, obviously with no round 4 pick, and I'm going to take a guard here that I would consider a top 100 player in Jalen Farmer, the guard out of Kentucky. I think that he's just super stout, big-bodied dude. Reminds me, honestly, a little bit of Chris Paul. If Paul ends up leaving in free agency or whatever, Farmer is somebody that I think Dan Quinn and David Blau is going to like. And, Dane Brugler has Farmer in his top 100 big board right now. And right now the consensus big board would allow me to take Jalen Farmer in round 5. So I'm going to take that every day of the week. Yeah, would he be a day 1 starter? Maybe not. We'll see. I think he could compete for that job on day 1, but I think Farmer is somebody that's got, long-time NFL starter written all over him. I think he's a top 100 player in this class, and to get him here in round 5, I think is an awesome value. Then in round 6 here, I'm going to take Bishop Fitzgerald, one of my favorite safeties in this draft class out of USC. And what I love about Fitzgerald is I love his instincts and I love his size, okay? Like, this is somebody that can play, that bigger safety type of role that Durante Jones likes in this defense. And, I think he's got awesome instincts and coverage as well. Like, I was watching the other safety from USC, Ramsey. I was watching his film, and I was like, who is this number 19 guy? This big dude that's just flying all over the place. He's making plays all over the place. It was Bishop Fitzgerald, and he was absolutely awesome on tape, in my opinion. And, he's become one of my draft crushes this year. I think he would fit in really nicely in this Commanders defense. And if Quan Martin stinks it up at safety this year, I think Bishop Fitzgerald could challenge him for that starting job moving forward. So keep your eye on Bishop Fitzgerald. I think this would be a good value for the Commanders. I'm going to take another guy that I think would be an awesome value, Keyshawn Elliott, the linebacker from Arizona State. I think I've taken him before in a mock draft here on the Commanders Report, but I think he's got the adequate athleticism. I like the way that he plays on film. Honestly, this guy might be close to a top 100 player for me. He is in the top 100 on Dane Brugler's big board. So obviously I'm not alone in my infatuation with Keyshawn Elliott, but you got to have the traits nowadays in the National Football League to be a 3-down starter at the linebacker position. I think Elliott is the right kind of developmental type of piece there where he can learn from Frankie Louvu and he can eventually be his successor in this defense at that off-ball linebacker spot alongside Jordan McGee. But then in round 7, I'm going to take a wide receiver here, Jordan Hudson, the wide receiver out of SMU. Now, Hudson, I think, might be one of the better value picks, especially on day 3 in this entire NFL draft. I have Hudson close to a top 15 receiver in this class, and this is an awesome wide receiver class, guys. Like, there might be guys that get taken on day 2 this year that are worse, in my opinion, than Jordan Hudson. Like, Hudson's just so well-rounded. He's not necessarily elite in any one category, but he's got very good hands. He's good after the catch. He's well-built. He's got good speed. Like, he's just got a lot of different stuff that you like, and as a potential wide receiver 3 of the future, like, I think you're going to have Terry McLaurin and Brandon Ayuk as your top 2 guys this year. If you're looking for somebody to go into that as like a wide receiver 3 that can be a complement to those 2 guys in the future, I think Hudson is a perfect fit for what the Washington Commanders are looking for in that future wide receiver 3 type that I think they might be looking to draft this year. So in my 7.0 mock draft here for the Washington Commanders, I got David Bailey in round 1, then Kyle Lewis, kind of your big nickel kind of joker chess piece in that defense. In round 3, then Jalen Farmer in round 5, Bishop Fitzgerald and Keyshawn Elliott in round 6 with Jordan Hudson in round 7. If this ends up happening, guys, I would be one happy camper, even if you don't trade down. But let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section. It's red pen time. You guys know the drill. It's time for you guys to share your thoughts on my mock draft this week. And of course, if you didn't like this week's mock draft, we're going to have another one next week, so you won't be upset for too long. So make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already. I greatly appreciate all of your guys' support. Again, click that subscribe button if you want these daily mock drafts in your feed every single week, as well as our daily and free coverage on the Washington Commanders right here on the Commanders Report. Second segment in the books. Now we got a mailbag coming up here. Ponzi, are we good on questions? All right, he says we're good on questions, so I'm not going to waste any more of your guys' time. Let's get into our mailbag here this week. I'm sure you guys got a bunch of questions with the Combine and people starting to really pay attention to some of these draft prospects, looking for sleepers and trying to find value and all that different stuff. Can't wait to see what kind of questions you got for me here today, guys. So without further ado, let's get into it. This week's mailbag is coming at you right now. It's my favorite segment of the week. It is the Commanders Report mailbag, where I answer your questions on the Burgundy and Gold here. This is going to be coming out on Sunday after NFL Combine week here, and obviously it's been a very interesting week with a bunch of rumors floating around and all this different stuff, and I'm sure after seeing a lot of these guys work out in Indianapolis, you guys have a lot of questions for me, so I can't wait to get into it. But before we get into your questions today, make sure you guys click that subscribe button to join the most interactive fan community community for Commanders fans anywhere here on YouTube. There's a reason why we're the largest individually run Commanders news program anywhere on YouTube. It's because we provide you guys insightful, in-depth, free, and daily Commanders coverage on this channel. We try to be as consistent as we possibly can, getting you guys premium Commanders content every single day. We provide you guys breaking news coverage every time the Commanders make a big move. We go live once a week so that we can film these mailbags, have your voices heard, and answer your questions. So if you guys want to join a community of fans that absolutely bleed burgundy and gold, make sure you guys click that subscribe button to never miss any of our free content. All right, so we got our first question coming in from Caesar Holmes. My man says, thoughts on the leaked report card of the NFL teams. Washington made a huge jump. They sure did. They upgraded their locker room at their facility this year in Ashburn, and that seemed to really make an impression. And, you know, the thing that I love about the new regime here in Washington, ever since Dan Snyder sold the team to Adam Peters, is this group cares. You can tell that, you know, everyone from ownership with Josh Harris to the GM and Adam Peters to the head coach and Dan Quinn, they dedicate their lives to this football team and to these players, and you can feel their enthusiasm. You can feel their love for not only football, but for the people and the human beings that exist inside that Commanders building. And, you know, when Dan Snyder was here, nobody felt valued. You know, there was no investment in facilities or anything like that. And Josh Harris has come in here, and he has made significant financial commitments to this football team and to this fan base. They seem to really care about what the players and what the fans think, and they're taking, everything into account. And, I think they've done a hell of a job to this point in this new regime, and I think that's why you see the giant leap where now I believe the Commanders are ranked third on the report card in general. So love to see that jump. It's great to see that this new regime is taking things seriously, and the players are responding to it. Then we got one from my man, Mike Nintendo Master. What's up, Mike? Says, what do you think of bringing back Williams? So talking about Trent Williams here, I'm guessing, and Trent Williams is likely to be released by the San Francisco 49ers. A report came out earlier this week, and obviously Williams was somebody that was here, was fantastic, developed into one of the best left tackles of his generation. Now, I seriously doubt this happens for two reasons. Number one, we have Laremy Tunsil, and he's under contract, and they're likely going to get an extension done with him, and there's just no reason that Trent Williams would want to come here and play like right tackle or something like that, right? But then also, Trent Williams freaking hates this organization, right? Because there was that whole debacle with the medical staff when he was here that I just really don't think he wants to come back. Even though Dan Snyder's gone, it's a new day here in Washington and all that different stuff, maybe he would be open to coming back here, but the fact that Laremy Tunsil is our left tackle pretty much takes away any chance of Trent Williams returning to the Washington Commanders. Then we got one from DMV. DJ Hollywood says, based on who they get in free agency, will tell who they will get with the number 7 pick. I tend to agree with this, right? Like, we're going to learn quite a bit about what the draft strategy is going to look like for the Commanders based on what they do in free agency, right? Like, if they bring in Brandon Ayuk, you can pretty much rest assured they're not taking a receiver at 7, right? They might take one in the later rounds as a future wide receiver 3, but like the only way that wide receiver is really on the board for me, guys, is if they don't really bring in any big name receivers to be that wide receiver 2. And, the Commanders, if they want, somebody's going to be there, whether it's Mekhi Lemon, Carnell Tate, Jordan Tyson, whoever they like. If they want a good receiver this year, they can get one, but it seems like the guy that Jayden wants is his old college teammate, Brandon Ayuk, and it seems like that's eventually going to get done. So, and that applies to every position, right? If they get Trey Hendrickson, they're probably not going to draft Reuben Bain or David Bailey at 7, right? If they get a high-end safety, you're probably not going to get Caleb Downs. Depending on what pieces they bring in free agency, it's going to determine, the levels of need that you have at that number 7 overall pick. And right now, we're all guessing as to what's going to be that big need that the Commanders are going to be addressing there in round 1. So what say you guys? Let me know down there in the comment section. What is the excitement level for the new defense this year under Durante Jones? Let me know down there in the comment section. Put it on a scale of 1, meaning not excited at all, this brother stinks, to 10 being, I cannot wait to watch this defense under Durante Jones. I think he's going to be awesome. In just a second here, I'm going to tell you about our sponsor here at Harry's. Well, I tell you about our sponsor today. Give me a number between 1 and 10 down there in the comments. And with that, let's have a word from our sponsor today at Harry's. And guys, life is all about continual improvement, and that includes the products that we use every single day. Your phone is practically a supercomputer in your pocket. Cars can park and even drive themselves now. Your headphones cancel outside noise like magic, but your razor, it's likely still flimsy, overpriced, and stuck back in 2008. That's where our friends at Harry's Plus come in. Harry's Plus has an advanced pivoting system to reach every corner of your face, refined blade tech for a closer, smoother shave, and a weighted metal handle, which is Harry's heaviest handle ever for added control and comfort. It feels like an expensive shave without having to break the bank. With Harry's Plus, each blade is honed at 3 different angles to cut hair cleanly at the root without tugging. Blade spacing is optimized to glide smoothly and avoid clogging, and every cartridge includes a lubricating strip with aloe and vitamin E to calm skin while you shave. But maybe the best part about Harry's Plus is how affordable it is. Harry's owns their own world-class blade factory in Germany, which means no outsourcing and no middlemen. And because they control the entire process from steel to shelf, they keep costs low and pass the savings on to you. And if you don't love your shave, Harry's is going to make it right with you, no questions asked. The risk-free trial means there's zero downside to giving them a shot. So for a limited time only, our listeners can get the Harry's Plus trial set for only $10 at harrys.com/chat. This set includes the all-new Harry's Plus razor, 1 refined 5-blade cartridge, a 2-ounce foaming shave gel, and a travel cover to protect your blades on the go. Just head on over to harrys.com/chat to claim this offer, and after you purchase, they'll ask where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them that we sent you. A big thank you to Harry's for sponsoring today's edition of the Commanders Report. Got one from my man JG. Says, assuming the Commanders do not sign Bobby Wagner, who is the best linebacker available in free agency? Well, the best linebacker available in free agency is going to be Devin Lloyd. Okay, Devin Lloyd, obviously coming from the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jags are in a tough spot financially, so they're probably not going to re-sign a linebacker, somebody at a lower value position. So, he would probably be the best linebacker that's available right now. I like Leo Chanel, formerly of the Kansas City Chiefs. He's going to be more of an affordable option that if the Commanders want to bring somebody in that's a veteran, I think Chanel's a pretty darn good player. But honestly, JG, it kind of looks to me like their plan is going to be Frankie Louvu, once again, as a starter off-ball linebacker, and then Jordan McGee is going to be the other off-ball backer this year. Now, obviously, they have a bunch of other guys on the roster. Tyler Owens is big enough to play linebacker, Kane Madrano, Ali Cahoe, and they could add players as well in free agency and the draft. But honestly, right now, it's looking like the Commanders feel pretty good about their plan at linebacker next year with Frankie Louvu and Jordan McGee. So I'm not sure if they're going to spend a lot of money at linebacker this year. It's definitely going to be interesting to see what they do in the linebacker market this year. Then we got one from Lenny Summers. Says, what do you think about taking a corner at 7? Well, Daniel Jeremiah always says the 2 positions where you kind of got to take a premium and maybe draft a player higher than maybe where their grade is cornerback and edge rusher, because it's really tough to find high-end talents at that position. And listen, man, if you want to get like a really good man corner, Jermod McCoy out of Tennessee is a very interesting one because he might actually be worth that top 10 selection. Like, I think McCoy has it in him to be like a top 5 corner in this league and to be a top man corner and to be a true takeaway number 1 guy. But I think that, depending on how you feel about Trey Amos and his future, I think it kind of answers your question here, my friend. Because if you believe that Trey Amos is a true number 1, then I don't think you need to necessarily spend this pick on a corner, okay? Like, I think you could probably go edge rusher. You could go Caleb Downs. You could go, a different position of need depending on what you do in free agency. But if you don't believe Trey Amos is like a true number 1 guy and you believe one of either Mansour Delane or Jermod McCoy fits that bill, then, it could be a possibility. I guess we'll see. Personally, I think corner is probably on the lower end of the possibilities for the Commanders at 7. I think edge rusher or maybe like Caleb Downs at safety is probably where they probably go. Maybe they go someone like Jeremiyah Love. We'll have to see. Maybe they fall in love with Kenyon Sadiq and they trade down. Like, I don't know what they're going to do, man. But I would say at this point they have a high level of belief in Trey Amos. I think they want to try probably Mike Samerstrill on the outside next year, and if that's the case, they don't necessarily need to get a starting outside corner in the draft this year. All right, now before we get to the rest of your questions here, make sure you guys click that thumbs up icon if you are a real one. The real ones know that clicking that thumbs up icon helps us out and is a free way to help us out every single time you watch one of our videos, because it tells the YouTube algorithm that you're a Commanders fan, you like this show, and that they should recommend this show to other Commanders fans on their platform. So it gets more eyeballs on the channel. It helps us out, guys. So if you appreciate the work we put in here on the Commanders Report for you, make sure you click that thumbs up icon. I'd greatly appreciate it. Another one coming in from JG here. Says, how much of Love's success is due to his offensive line versus just his innate ability? Well, Notre Dame certainly has a good offensive line. They coach up their guys really well. They recruit well at that position. There's no doubt about that. But I think Jeremiyah Love, in terms of just his pure ability in a vacuum, is still very, very good. His long speed is truly special. So if he gets out into open space, like, he can break angles from defenders. You know, he's got an electric twitch to him as well that allows him to make people miss. He's pretty well built too. 214 pounds is no slouch there in terms of the size that he brings to the table. And he's awesome out of the backfield as a receiver as well. So he brings all that dynamic athleticism to the table, along with very solid hands, good route running, all that different stuff. So I think Jeremiyah Love is a really, really good halfback prospect. I do consider him one of the blue chip prospects in this draft class. Now, personally, I'm not somebody that likes the philosophy of drafting running backs in the top 10 or really even in the top 15. Like, if you take a running back round 1, I would prefer it be, later in the first round to a team that's already pretty well built. And I don't think the Commanders are in a position to draft running back from a roster perspective right now. But Jeremiyah Love, just, his profile, he's just an awesome football player, man. Then we got one from Samuel, who says, should the Commanders go for a defensive player, or would you rather Jeremiyah Love? I would personally not do Jeremiyah Love for a number of reasons. I think you've got a lot of other needs that you need to address. Running back is usually a very addressable position in any given offseason. You can usually find good running back talent on day 2 and day 3 in most drafts, not to mention in free agency. The short shelf life of running backs, the fact that no running back is on the field for every offensive snap, all those different things contribute for me to be like, I don't want to spend my 7th overall pick on a player like that, at a position like that. I would rather get somebody that's on the field all the time on their side of the football, and somebody that's a more premium position than a running back. That's just where I'm at right now. So definitely defense is probably where I'd go if I'm the Commanders. That's the side of the ball that needs the most work and needs the most youth. So that's probably where I'm going. But let us know down there in the comment section, guys, who are you hoping that the Washington Commanders take in round 1 this year? I know there's a lot of people that like the Jeremiyah Love idea. Do you like David Bailey, Reuben Bain Jr., Caleb Downs? Do you like Jermod McCoy, Mansour Delane, like one of those cornerback prospects like we talked about earlier? Let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section. For me, I'm hoping the Commanders can find a way to land Caleb Downs out of Ohio State, man. He is just special safety prospect, in my opinion, day 1 impact if the Commanders can end up getting him, and he can just take away the middle of the field, and I think that is an ultimate value for a defensive coordinator like Durante Jones. So that's who I'm hoping the Commanders get, but let me know who you guys want down there in the comments, and that'll be it for this week's mailbag here on the Commanders Report. Thank you guys so much for joining me here for this week's mailbag and Q&A. Of course, you have an opportunity to get your question on next week's mailbag when we go live. We tend to go live on Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, so make sure you guys click that subscribe button and turn on those notifications so you always know when we go live right here on the Commanders Report. All right, that is going to be it for today's show, ladies and gentlemen. I greatly appreciate all of you guys stopping by here today. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of the week with the combine workouts and all that different stuff happening in Indianapolis. We're going to continue to get you guys extensive Commanders coverage all throughout combine week here. We got boots on the ground there in Indianapolis, giving us the latest scoops on formal combine interviews. We're going to have a full video on that later this week. And, if you want to know the very latest surrounding the Washington Commanders, make sure you guys click that subscribe button. Thank you guys for joining us for our live show today. We'll see you guys next time, and until then, hail to the Commanders.